The kingdom of Granwald is under siege in year 21, looking like a war zone with a blood-red sky. Humanity's last bastion is being overrun by a horde of beastmen, goblins, and orcs. Human soldiers, looking terrified but holding on to faint hope, are trying to defend the fortress. Giant dragons are raining down fire from the sky, making humanity's situation look absolutely dire. Dragonfire blasts through the fortress, causing massive destruction and chaos. A monstrous minotaur and other demons stand victorious over piles of fallen human soldiers. A massive minotaur casually holds a tiny human soldier, highlighting the overwhelming power of the invaders. The entire city is engulfed in flames, with dead soldiers everywhere, signaling humanity's impending extinction. Desperate soldiers carry the wounded up burning stairs, trying to find safety amidst the chaos. Our boy Will, the healer, is exhausted but still healing a soldier with glowing green energy. Will shouts his determination to heal everyone, demanding more wounded be brought to him quickly. Will continues healing while his long-haired subordinate urgently warns him the gate is about to fall and he needs to flee. The long-haired subordinate stresses that a powerful healer like Will shouldn't be on the front lines. Will gets fired up, refusing to abandon anyone, and vowing to save humanity through his healing. A flashback shows a dying woman, likely Will's mentor, covered in blood, entrusting him with her power. The dying mentor tells Will she's counting on him to be the world's greatest healer. Will is now intensely healing a heavily armored general, pouring all his green energy into him. Will's healing power surges, radiating bright green energy around the general and himself. Will's arm glows intensely with healing energy, looking like it's pushing past its limits. A close-up shows Will's hand glowing with immense healing power, almost translucent. Will is surrounded by soldiers as he successfully heals the general, who lies in a circle of green light. The general opens his eyes, fully healed, and the surrounding soldiers cheer for Master Will. Will smiles, reassuring the general that he'll heal him no matter what, believing victory is close. The general looks at Will with a cold, calculating gaze, completely devoid of gratitude. The general, the same guy Will just saved, suddenly sucker punches our boy Will right in the face. The general clenches his fist, declaring Will's healing was unnecessary. Will, holding his punched face, asks the general why he attacked him, completely bewildered. The shocked soldiers question the general's actions, unable to believe the betrayal. The general, with glowing green eyes, screams at the other soldiers to shut up. The general draws his glowing sword, preparing for more treachery against our boy. The general, the same bastard Will just saved, brutally stabs Will with his sword. The general rages, asking if Will's healing arm is the one preventing him from dying. The general screams about his suffering and despair, blaming Will for healing him on the front lines. The general continues his rant, wishing for death and lamenting the endless losses because Will kept them alive. The general declares that all the soldiers are tired and want to give up, pointing at a wounded Will. Will looks utterly devastated, questioning if all his efforts to save people were completely pointless. Will's face darkens, realizing the immense sacrifice of his blood, sweat, and tears might be for nothing. The general, with his sword still in Will, states he's done suffering because of the world's greatest healer. The general tells Will humanity is doomed, and he should fight alone, abandoning our boy. Will, in shock, realizes he can't use offensive magic, leaving him defenseless. Will tries to warn the general, but the ungrateful clown and his men simply walk away, leaving him. A giant dragon charges up a devastating fire blast, ready to obliterate everything. The dragon unleashes a massive torrent of fire, tearing through the fortress. Will is seen sitting alone amidst the rubble, somehow surviving the dragon's attack. The general lies wounded and bleeding on the ground, telling someone to run. Will punches forward with a burst of fiery energy, a new power manifesting in his despair. Will looks at the massive dragon, finally understanding the true horror of the monsters they were fighting. Will, with a dark expression, laments that all his time spent learning healing magic was a waste. A flashback shows a younger, innocent Will happily healing a glowing green puppy. Another flashback shows young Will being honored as the world's greatest healer, a stark contrast to his current abandonment. Will is absolutely raging, screaming that he should have fought with his own hands instead of just healing. Our boy Will clenches a rock, showing he's done with just healing and ready to throw hands. Will stands against the massive dragon, wishing he could go back to that fateful day. Will, still in his healer's robes, screams in despair, wanting a redo on this whole apocalypse thing. The sheer scale of the dragon dwarfs Will, emphasizing his desperate wish to change the past. Will's eye snaps open, suggesting a sudden shift or a powerful moment of realization. Will wakes up in a bed, in a bright, peaceful room, a stark contrast to the war zone he just left. Will sits up, looking around his room, clearly disoriented but recognizing his surroundings. Will spots an admissions guide on his desk, a clue to his current situation. Will's face is a mix of shock and confusion, realizing the implications of the guide being there. Will sees a vision of his younger self and others, wondering if he's back 5 years ago. The narration confirms it's year 16, the day Will should have died by a dragon before becoming the world's greatest healer. Will holds the admissions guide, still bewildered but starting to piece together what happened. Will's expression hardens, realizing his dying wish might have been granted, and he knows what he has to do. Will clenches the admissions guide, which glows with a determined blue energy signifying his new path. Will declares he's enrolling in Schwartz Academia, the Academy for Offensive Magic, which is a wild pivot for a healer. The manhwa reminds us healers can't use offensive magic, but Will is dead set on breaking that barrier. Will plans to use his past life memories and healing mastery to change the future, a true power-up combo. Will stands with a powerful older version of himself behind him, ready to fight and save the world on his own terms. Will looks at the magnificent Schwartz Academia, confirming his first mission is to get into the offensive magic school. A grand lecture hall at Schwartz Academia is shown, emphasizing its reputation for superior education. Students at Schwartz are seen demonstrating impressive fire magic, proving it develops first-rate offensive mages. A flashback reveals a mysterious, long-haired figure from Will's past life also attended Schwartz. Will looks thoughtful, realizing Schwartz's powerful methods are closely guarded secrets. Will sits on his bed, contemplating the unprecedented challenge of a healer trying to enroll in an offensive magic academy. Will ponders that Schwartz Academia, which makes first-rate mages, can be entered by untalented nobles using their wealth. Our boy Will laments not bringing his chief healer money from his past life, which would have lasted a lifetime. Will looks stressed, realizing he won't make it into Schwartz in time if he tries to earn money as a healer now. Will stands in his room as a female voice asks if he's awake, hinting at a familiar presence. Will is shocked to see his sister, who is alive and well in this timeline, smiling brightly at him. Will confirms to himself that he's truly back in the past, and his sister is alive, a major win. Will's sister asks if he's okay, and our boy quickly covers his emotional reaction, saying he just got something in his eye. Will and his sister share a warm good morning, a simple moment that means the world to him. Will's eyes harden with resolve, vowing to use his healing magic to prevent the tragedy that befell his sister in the past. Will's face lights up with a sudden realization, exclaiming, he can save all the people he couldn't save before. Will excitedly grabs his confused sister, thanking her for inspiring his new plan. Will rushes out, telling his sister he'll explain later, as she reminds him to be home for dinner. A normal family moment he lost. The powerful Magic Academy Alliance is introduced, the organization that controls all magical education in the kingdom. The narration reveals the Alliance's chairman was also the headmaster of Schwartz Academia at this time. The story hints that the chairman mysteriously stopped attending Alliance meetings at some point. The reason for the chairman's sudden absence is teased, building suspense. The chairman is seen through a window, sitting by the bedside of a sleeping blonde woman. A close-up shows the blonde woman, Marie, looking ill and feverish in her bed. Chairman Alniram Goldgrand, the big boss of Schwartz, is shown cradling his sick granddaughter, Marie. Chairman Alniram expresses despair over the lack of skilled healers, but vows to find a cure for Marie. The chairman is constantly by Marie's side, dedicated to her care as her illness progresses. The narration confirms that the healing magic of that era was simply not powerful enough to cure Marie. The tragic past is revealed. Marie died in the previous timeline, but Will knows he can change that. Our boy Will dramatically climbs through a window, offering to take on the task of healing Marie. The chairman recognizes Will as the famous scholarship student from Heilig, surprised by his window entrance. Our boy Will confidently declares he can cure Marie, the chairman's granddaughter. Chairman Alniram, ever the suspicious one, eyes Will and asks what his true intentions are. Will, a bit flustered, tells the chairman his motives can wait, urging him to allow treatment as Marie's condition is worsening. The chairman, with a piercing gaze, finally gives Will permission to show what he can do. Will and Chairman Alniram are now both seated by Marie's bedside, the tension palpable. Will internally notes the chairman's intense, almost threatening stare, recognizing the protective headmaster's vigilance. Will gently takes Marie's hand, preparing to unleash his healing magic. Will begins healing Marie, radiating his signature green energy as the chairman watches closely. Will realizes his magical power is weaker in the past, but his knowledge of advanced healing formulas remains intact. Our boy focuses on Marie's Zora disease, knowing the cure was a future discovery he now possesses. Marie's eyes flutter open, a clear sign that Will's healing is working its magic. Will looks relieved, seeing the immediate positive effect of his powerful healing. Will, with a confident smirk, tells Marie she's fine, but needs to take it easy, making her blush a little. Marie, still a bit dazed, confirms she's okay to Will. Chairman Alniram, full of concern, asks Marie if she's truly feeling better. Marie, now beaming, tells her grandfather she feels better than she has in years, a huge win for our guy. Will smiles, acknowledging the successful healing and the change he's already made. Chairman Alniram looks incredibly relieved, expressing his heartfelt gratitude. Chairman Alniram thanks Will directly, now in a more formal setting, ready to discuss terms. The chairman offers to do anything for Will, who then states his request is surprisingly simple. Will confidently declares his healing magic is unrivaled, and he's learned all there is to know in that field. Will, with a determined glow, finally drops the bomb. He wants to enroll in Schwartz Academia. Chairman Alniram looks utterly bewildered, questioning why a top healer would want to join an offensive magic academy. Will, with a serious and knowing look, assures the chairman he fully understands the implications of his choice. Chairman Alniram, seeing the conviction in Will's eyes, decides his authority exists for this moment and agrees to make it happen. Will and Chairman Alniram shake hands, sealing the deal for our boy's enrollment in Schwartz Academia. A new character, a dark-haired dude, fumes about the crafty old chairman's outrageous decision to let Will in. This hater, clearly a high-ranking official, smirks while questioning if a pampered healer can handle Schwartz's curriculum. It's entrance ceremony day at Schwartz Academia, a grand affair with all the new students gathered. Chairman Alniram Goldgrand stands proudly, overseeing the start of a new academic year. Schwartz Academia is shown in all its glory, a massive boarding school specializing in offensive magic with top-tier training facilities. The academy boasts impressive research facilities, complete with bubbling potions and ancient texts. They even have a massive library, which Will might actually need if he can't blast things. Schwartz also has influential alumni and kingdom support, showing off some powerful-looking mages. Chairman Alniram addresses the new recruits, hyping up Schwartz as the ultimate environment for learning offensive magic. Will, now rocking the Schwartz uniform, smiles confidently, ready to tackle the unprecedented challenge of a healer becoming an offensive mage. Our boy Will, glowing with determination, declares he's going to change his fate, no matter what. Fast forward to class, and Will is already looking stressed and struggling, the reality of offensive magic hitting him hard. The long-haired dude from Will's past life, now a teacher, orders him to begin his offensive magic practice against a target. Will tries to cast fire magic, but it's a weak, sputtering flame, nowhere near the power he needs. A close-up of Will's hand shows barely any magic manifesting, a stark contrast to his healing prowess. The long-haired teacher, looking annoyed, tells Will he failed again, while other students openly mock him. The teacher kicks Will out of class, demanding he practice alone until he can blast the target with basic offensive magic. Will, frustrated, asks the teacher for proper instruction, lamenting he can't even practice effectively. The long-haired teacher dismisses Will's plea, stating teaching a healer would be a complete waste of time. Will tries to ask about studying theory, but the teacher threatens punishment, as another student blasts fire magic right past Will. Will gets hit by the fire blast from the other student, looking completely shocked and in pain. Our boy is on the ground, bewildered, while the punk who hit him just laughs at his weakness. The smug blonde student who attacked Will declares this is an offensive magic academy, no place for weaklings who can't defend themselves. The blonde bully continues his taunt, telling Will it's his own fault for getting hit, the classic victim-blaming move. The blonde bully and the long-haired teacher are still ganging up on Will, telling him he belongs in a healing academy. The blonde bully grins, suggesting Will go get comforted by nice, gentle healers, really twisting the knife. Our boy Will is sitting alone on a bench, letting out a heavy sigh, looking completely defeated. Will laments that he sees no progress in learning offensive magic, feeling stuck in his current predicament. The narration explains that healing and offensive magic draw from fundamentally different power sources. It's revealed mages convert mana from their spirit using specific formulas to activate magic. The nature of mana is determined by the caster's state of mind, which is a crucial detail. Offensive magic uses active mana for destruction, while healers only possess passive mana, making offensive spells impossible for them. Will still holds on to hope, believing Schwartz Academia must have a secret method to refine active mana. Will thought his mana control would let him convert passive to active, but the reality is hitting him hard. Will is frustrated, realizing both students and teachers at Schwartz look down on healers, keeping him out of class. Our boy refuses to give up, remembering someone from his past who also refined their mana at Schwartz. Will decides he needs a new approach, and considers sneaking into the library for forbidden knowledge. Will's eyes widen in shock, spotting someone unexpected approaching him. Our boy quickly tries to play it cool, adjusting his uniform as if he wasn't just plotting. Veronica, a powerful white-haired woman with a sword, makes her grand entrance looking formidable. Will recognizes her, muttering Veronica-san, clearly surprised to see her in this timeline. A flashback shows Will fighting alongside Veronica in his past life, where she was a top-tier offensive mage. The tragic memory of Will crying over a dying Veronica flashes, reminding us of his past failures. Will feels a wave of nostalgia, remembering Veronica's magic sword that could slice anything. Will's nostalgia turns to alarm as Veronica draws her glowing magic sword, looking ready for action. Veronica eyes Will suspiciously, stating she's being cautious of a suspicious student like him. Veronica questions Will's presence, asking if he's causing trouble or just training hard out here. Will, panicking, quickly assures Veronica he's just training, desperate to avoid getting sliced by her. Veronica accepts his answer, but then scolds him for addressing a teacher so casually, revealing her new role. Will is completely flustered, realizing Veronica is now a teacher, noting she was barely older than him in his past life. Veronica explains she skipped grades and became a teacher this year, showing off her genius. Will fakes a smile, acknowledging Professor Veronica's talent, but internally sees a golden opportunity. Our boy Will realizes this might be his chance for Veronica to teach him offensive magic. Will, with newfound determination, tells Professor Veronica he wants to take her class. Will eagerly asks Veronica what he needs to do to attend her class, ready to jump through hoops. Veronica, ever the overachiever, apologetically explains she isn't assigned to teach classes yet, having skipped grades herself. Veronica clarifies she's just an assistant instructor, handling student questions this year. Veronica looks puzzled, mentioning that for some reason no one comes to her with questions. Will internally deduces everyone is probably terrified of someone who draws their sword so quickly, remembering her past life. Will sees this as an even bigger opportunity, realizing he can freely ask Professor Veronica for private lessons. Our boy asks Veronica if he can ask questions, then immediately hits her with the big one. Will asks Veronica what a healer needs to do to master offensive magic, cutting straight to his core problem. Veronica's eye glows as she notes Will's odd mana flow, recognizing him as the famous new student everyone's talking about. Will asks if she knew about him, as Veronica explains a healer learning offensive magic is quite unusual. Veronica mentions she's heard Schwartz Academia has a secret method to refine active mana from almost nothing. Veronica confirms that if that method exists, even a healer like Will should be able to handle active mana. Veronica then drops a bombshell, confirming the method exists and she can teach it to him. Will is absolutely thrilled, but Veronica immediately adds a however, because of course there's a catch. Veronica explains Will already has too much passive mana, making it incredibly difficult to refine active mana. Veronica illustrates that any refined active mana would just dissolve back into his passive mana, making it useless. Veronica concludes that offensive magic formulas simply won't function properly if mixed with passive mana. Will is crushed, asking if there's no way for a healer to use offensive magic, and Veronica confirms she knows of none. Will laments his plan failed but refuses to give up, vowing to create his own method if necessary. Will thanks Veronica, stating he'll think about it on his own, but Veronica then hints at another possibility. Will looks at his hand, realizing his hands, like Veronica's, can also be used for different purposes. Veronica gently pats Will's cheek, demonstrating how hands can be used for tenderness. Veronica then points intensely at Will, showing how those same hands can also inflict pain. Veronica apologizes for being too rough, as Will confirms he's fine, while she explains anything can be a weapon depending on its use. Will looks shocked, finally grasping the concept of using healing magic offensively. Will and Veronica stand together as she explains the difference in mana comes from one's state of mind. An illustration shows a passive green mana blob and an active red mana blob looking annoyed at each other. Veronica looks at Will, telling him he's probably different and special for enrolling in an offensive magic academy. Will stands with green mana swirling around him, as Veronica notes his mana isn't that of a pure healer. Will looks at his hand, surprised, wondering if his mana changed because he regressed to the past. Veronica points her glowing sword at Will, telling him he needs to recognize something important. Veronica looks intense, urging Will to recognize the aggressive passion hidden within himself. Will looks at Veronica's glowing sword as she tells him his healing magic will shatter enemies if he embraces that passion. The next day, students are gathered on the academy grounds for class. Will looks thoughtful, reflecting on Professor Veronica's insightful words from yesterday. Will recalls Veronica's unique examples, feeling like her words were a profound revelation for him. Will ponders why Professor Veronica showed no aversion to healers and had such a unique theory connecting healing and offensive magic. A female teacher with glasses calls out healer, and Will internally notes they've stopped calling him by name. The glasses teacher announces one-on-one mock battles, stating Will participate due to an odd number of students. Will looks annoyed as the glasses teacher declares his inability to use offensive magic is his problem, and he brought it on himself. The glasses teacher smirks, revealing she's already decided the pairings for the mock battles. The glasses teacher stands between Will and Ulpus, announcing Will is paired with Ulpus for the mock battle. Will internally recognizes this is an obvious setup, as the long-haired teacher from earlier smirks in the background. Ulpus Omen, the blonde bully, is introduced as a genuinely skilled noble mage surrounded by his followers. Will observes Ulpus, noting he seems genuinely skilled as an offensive mage, not just riding on his family name. Ulpus, the blonde bully, taunts Will, asking if healing magic works on shame and if he'll need his mommy after getting beaten. The long-haired teacher laughs, finding Ulpus's personality quite amusing, because of course this clown would. Will's face shows clear anger, admitting Ulpus's taunts really piss him off, even more than his past self would have cared. Will decides he wants to test Veronica's theory, and maybe hit back a little, calling out to the glasses teacher. Will tells the glasses teacher he understands his lack of talent for offensive magic, and that continuing is a waste of time. Will declares that if he loses this mock battle, he will quit Schwartz Academia, raising the stakes dramatically. The glasses teacher smirks, calling Will's decision a wise one, clearly enjoying the setup. Will, with a determined look, counters by asking if he wins, he'll be allowed to attend regular classes. The glasses teacher scoffs at Will's presumptuous request, still underestimating our boy. Ulpus, the blonde bully, mocks Will, saying a weakling needs impossible fantasies to face his fear. Ulpus adds that it's no fun for him if there's nothing to crush, showing his sadistic side. The glasses teacher, covering her face, agrees that discussing hypotheticals is a waste of time and gives her consent. The glasses teacher orders both Will and Ulpus to take their positions for the mock battle. The glasses teacher dramatically raises her arm, shouting, "Begin!" to start the fight. Ulpus, the blonde bully, begins casting his magic, golden energy swirling around him. Ulpus unleashes his knife creation magic, summoning a circle of glowing golden knives around him. Ulpus declares his countless knives will skewer Will, mocking him as a dropout who can't use basic offensive magic. Ulpus launches his barrage of golden knives at Will, who stands his ground, looking calm. Will closes his eyes, bringing his hands together in a familiar healing gesture, green energy starting to glow. Will's hands glow intensely with green healing energy, forming a complex magic circle. Will dodges the incoming golden knives with incredible speed, leaving afterimages, showing a new level of agility. Ulpus looks absolutely shocked, screaming, "What?" as Will effortlessly evades his attack. Will explains that the essence of his healing magic is life manipulation, healing by maximizing activities. Will continues, stating healing power isn't the only thing he can manipulate, hinting at converting it to an offensive form. Ulpus, still reeling, shouts at Will not to get cocky over a fluke, preparing for another attack. Ulpus, the blonde bully, continues to launch his golden knives, but our boy Will is still dodging them. The golden knives clatter harmlessly on the ground around Will's feet, completely missing their target. Will, with a confident smirk, tells Ulpus his timing is perfect, holding one of the bully's glowing golden knives. Our boy Will, with a mischievous grin, declares he's borrowing Ulpus's magic knife, now wielding it himself. Ulpus looks absolutely furious, realizing Will just snatched his magic right out of the air. Ulpus rages, claiming he was holding back and can still summon more knives, trying to save face after getting clowned. Ulpus screams that an offensive mage would never lose to a healer, launching another fiery attack. Will is now a blur of motion, dodging a barrage of golden knives with incredible speed, leaving afterimages. Ulpus looks completely stunned as Will effortlessly evades his relentless knife attacks. Ulpus, getting desperate, declares it's not just about numbers and prepares to unleash something bigger. Ulpus screams, "Size up," as he conjures a massive, flaming golden sword, trying to overwhelm Will with raw power. Will observes Ulpus, acknowledging that the blonde bully is genuinely strong and understands his unique magic. Ulpus, still trying to flex, announces he'll add rotation to his giant flaming sword, because why not? Ulpus launches the massive rotating flaming sword at Will, confident this attack will finally land. Will, with a determined look, raises his hand and blocks the giant flaming sword with a powerful burst of green energy. Ulpus looks utterly bewildered and screams, "Huh?" as Will effortlessly deflects his strongest attack. Will internally ponders if he should further strengthen his physical enhancement, already planning his next move. Will, with a powerful swing, sends the giant flaming sword flying right back towards a shocked Ulpus. Ulpus looks completely dumbfounded as his own massive sword is sent hurtling back, embedding itself in the ground. Will, with a chilling smile, tells Ulpus he'll heal him properly, asking for forgiveness, a truly savage taunt. Will, with a dark, determined gaze, holds the stolen golden knife ready to deliver the final blow. Ulpus, now completely terrified, screams, "That's enough!" as Will's eyes glow with intense power. Ulpus is now sprawled on the ground, looking utterly defeated and scared, having been completely outmatched. Will stands victorious over a defeated Ulpus, with the long-haired teacher and other students watching in disbelief. The glasses teacher intervenes, calling for the next match and telling both Will and Ulpus to stand down. Will stands over a defeated Ulpus, holding the stolen knife, as the glasses teacher and long-haired teacher watch in disbelief. Will, with a confident grin, reminds the glasses teacher that he can now attend regular classes. The glasses teacher, looking utterly annoyed, grudgingly tells Will to do what he wants. Will beams, thanking the glasses teacher, clearly enjoying his victory over the system. Will walks away, leaving Ulpus still sprawled on the ground and the long-haired teacher stewing. Will internally reflects on the unique sensation of his newly discovered offensive healing magic. Our boy internally declares this is his own offensive magic style, working better than he imagined, having clowned a skilled mage. Will credits Professor Veronica for his breakthrough, realizing he can now weaponize his healing magic. Will looks up with a determined smirk, declaring he can finally become an offensive mage. Ulpus, still on the ground, tries to downplay his loss to the long-haired teacher, calling it a class accident. Ulpus tells the long-haired teacher he doesn't want to report this embarrassing defeat to his father. Ulpus gives the long-haired teacher a menacing look, subtly threatening him to keep quiet. The long-haired teacher, with a sly smirk, confirms he understands Ulpus's unspoken request. The long-haired teacher internally gloats, thinking a healer shouldn't get too big for his britches. Will is now in a classroom, internally stating he can finally attend classes and learn all about offensive magic. Will sits in class with other students as the long-haired teacher enters, ready to teach. The long-haired teacher announces the start of the magic tool creation class, covering basic subjects. Will internally notes the magic tool creation class is nostalgic, similar to one from his Healing Academy past. The long-haired teacher draws ice bombs on the blackboard, showing the components and final product. The long-haired teacher distributes materials, instructing students to assemble them while infusing mana. Will internally reflects that in his past life, he only crafted recovery items like healing potions. Will notes that this offensive academy makes weapons, but mana nature barely matters for tool creation, mostly depending on materials. Our boy internally concludes that even he should be able to handle this class, given his understanding of materials. Will holds up the materials, an ice golem eye fragment and flame tree branch powder. Will reads from a book, preparing to mix the flame tree branch powder with the ice golem fragment. Will uses physical enhancement, a green aura around him, while other students practice their magic. The long-haired teacher watches as a student's ice bomb explodes in a massive blue blast. A close-up shows the powerful ice bomb forming a huge, jagged ice crystal. Will looks startled and a bit panicked, clearly having caused some unexpected magical chaos. The long-haired teacher yells at Will, demanding to know what he's doing. Will tries to explain his ice bomb went off on its own, but the long-haired teacher immediately deducts points, no excuses. Ulpus, the blonde bully, and another student openly mock and laugh at Will's predicament. Will looks down, feeling the sting of the unfair treatment and constant ridicule. Will's eyes are shown, signaling a transition to the next class, where the torment continues. The next class is Magical Creatures, featuring a caged salamander, which looks surprisingly cute. Will sits at his desk, observing the salamander, probably wondering if it's going to breathe fire. The long-haired teacher announces that students with bad grades sit in the front row, specifically singling out Will. Will looks nervous, realizing he's uncomfortably close to the fire-breathing salamander. The salamander breathes fire, but Will, ever the prepared one, uses a pot to block the flames. The long-haired teacher questions Will's pot, and our boy explains he thought it might be necessary, which it clearly was. The long-haired teacher, being a petty tyrant, confiscates Will's pot, leaving him defenseless. Will looks frustrated, realizing the salamander is still spitting fire and he's now without his makeshift shield. Will internally laments that they're letting him attend class but actively preventing him from participating properly. Will looks contemplative, wondering how he's going to navigate this constant sabotage. A shy female student sits alone at a desk looking downcast, possibly another target of the academy's bullying. A close-up of the shy female student shows her looking worried and isolated. The long-haired teacher asks Will a question he hasn't learned, then deducts points when he can't answer. Classic setup. Will finds trash strewn in front of his room, confirming the bullying extends beyond the classroom. The dorm supervisor, another clown in the system, tells Will he's heard about his misbehavior and punishes him with no dinner. Will lies in bed, sighing, realizing everyone at the academy is hostile towards him, making his new path incredibly tough. Will is sprawled on his bed, looking completely drained, contemplating the endless challenges still ahead. Our boy raises his hand, internally vowing to make steady progress and not let the constant harassment get to him. Will flashes back to his epic win against Ulpus, remembering the first time he fought with his own hands and absolutely dominated. Will clenches his fist in bed, reaffirming his belief that he can totally become an offensive mage. Our guy sits up, grabbing a textbook, ready to review his lessons and catch up on what he's missed. The next day, Will is sitting alone in a classroom, looking around the empty space. Will stares at the blackboard, realizing the teacher is late and class should have already started. Will notices the shy female student, Erica, is the only other person there, suspecting a classroom change was hidden from them. Will stands up, deciding to leave, and the shy female student, Erica, nervously responds to him. Will suggests the classroom changed, and Erica confirms her suspicion, noting it's because they're both outcasts. Erica, the shy female student, makes a cute mushroom gesture, admitting she's also on the outcast side. Erica suggests they get along as fellow loners, but Will internally notes her words have a sharp edge. Will smiles, extending his hand, genuinely happy to finally make a friend at this hostile academy. Erica, the shy female student, nervously takes Will's hand, asking him to please take care of her. Erica, the shy female student, formally introduces herself as Erica Glenn. Will internally acknowledges Erica is his first friend here, understanding why he hasn't made any before. Our boy internally notes the widespread belief that healers are nothing but weaklings. Erica, the shy female student, laughs awkwardly, admitting she also has no friends despite being an offensive mage. Will internally reflects on the deep-seated discrimination against healers, especially from frontline mages. Will recalls his past life, where he was celebrated as the kingdom's healer and never faced such prejudice. Will realizes that at an offensive magic academy, he has to fight against this ingrained discrimination too. Erica, the shy female student, looks at Will, asking him why he chose to come to Schwartz Academia. Will, with a determined gaze, explains he realized being a healer was no excuse to ever give up. Will, with a slight smile, tells Erica he has his reasons, then turns the question back to her. Erica, the shy female student, reveals she's from a small noble family in the provinces, shown with her parents. Erica explains her family worried about their lineage without a male heir, putting pressure on her. Erica explains her parents hoped she could become the family head by excelling as an offensive mage. Will acknowledges that graduating from Schwartz Academia would indeed make Erica's family goal possible. Erica laments her lack of offensive magic talent, which has left her friendless and struggling in classes. Erica then cheerfully tells Will she actually did make a friend, looking directly at him. Erica happily admits Will's presence, as even more of a dropout makes her feel less anxious about her own grades. Will, with a knowing smirk, tells Erica he appreciates her well-meaning offer, but things might not go as she expects. Erica looks confused, asking Will to clarify what he means by his cryptic statement. Will tells Erica to come on, suggesting they go find the actual classroom where teaching is happening. Erica hurries after Will, asking him to wait as they leave the empty decoy classroom. Will and Erica arrive at the correct class, where the long-haired teacher immediately scolds them for being late. Erica nervously apologizes, explaining they didn't know the classroom changed, while other students smirk. The long-haired teacher dismisses Erica's excuses with a smug look, clearly enjoying their misfortune. The long-haired teacher, with a malicious grin, demands Will answer a complex problem on the blackboard. Erica protests the unfairness, pointing out they just arrived and Will has barely attended any classes. The long-haired teacher offers to overlook tardiness if Will answers correctly, but threatens point deductions if he's wrong. Ulpus, the blonde bully, and his crony laugh, confidently predicting Will fail in no time. Will confidently walks up to the blackboard, ready to show these clowns what's up. Will quickly solves the complex problem on the blackboard, shocking Erica and Ulpus. Will stands proudly by the perfectly solved problem, looking at the long-haired teacher with a smirk. Will asks the long-haired teacher if his answer is correct, challenging the petty tyrant. The long-haired teacher looks utterly flustered and surprised by Will's correct answer. The long-haired teacher grudgingly confirms Will's answer is correct, telling him to sit down, leaving Ulpus dumbfounded. Ulpus, still in shock, questions how Will knew the answer, while Erica looks surprised but happy. Will, with a smug smile, sits back down, clearly enjoying his triumph over the biased system. Erica is absolutely flabbergasted, asking Will if he really read the textbook all by himself. Will narrates that he only read the textbook yesterday, but it was truly worthy of Schwartz Academia. The textbook is shown, described as a comprehensive guide that could make anyone surpass typical offensive mages. Will internally reflects that despite his lack of aptitude, his past life study habits helped him grasp offensive magic. Will narrates that he found learning offensive magic so enjoyable, he stayed up late reading ahead while Erica looks bewildered. Erica looks horrified, stating the textbook content is too difficult and questioning if Will was supposed to be a dropout. Erica clings to Will, panicking about being at the bottom and getting bullied, begging him not to abandon her. Will reassures Erica, promising to teach her anything she doesn't understand. Will smiles warmly at Erica, reminding her that they are friends. Erica looks incredibly happy and teary-eyed, expressing her gratitude to Will. Will internally acknowledges that while he didn't come to make friends, Erica's presence could help him achieve more. Will asks Erica for a favor in return, hinting that classes involve more than just lectures. Will internally thinks about the upcoming basic offensive magic class, the one he consistently failed before. Erica reminds Will he beat Ulpus, so she believes he can now handle basic offensive magic. Will tells Erica he still can't use basic offensive magic, leaving her confused. Will grins slyly, revealing he has an idea. Will tells Erica he needs her help for his new plan. Students are gathered outside in formation for a class, looking like a military drill. Will narrates that offensive magic is divided into basic and unique types. Basic offensive magic is explained as having formulas that anyone can learn and use by analyzing them. Will narrates that Schwartz Academia offers classes for both basic offensive magic and refining unique magic. Will internally notes he can attend unique magic classes with his offensive healing, as they lack set answers. The long-haired teacher stands with his arms crossed, stating Will cannot pass without using basic offensive magic. The long-haired teacher smirks, telling Will that practicals are different from lectures and he'll fail without basic offensive magic. Will acknowledges the long-haired teacher's statement with a serious expression. The long-haired teacher lectures Will, emphasizing that basic offensive magic is the absolute minimum for graduation. The long-haired teacher continues to mock Will, acknowledging his healing but dismissing his inability to use offensive magic. The long-haired teacher, with a smug grin, tells Will that an incompetent like him should just leave his class. Will, with a sly smirk, holds a small fireball in his hand, ready to pull off his trick. Will internally gloats that no one noticed his sleight of hand, still holding the fireball. Will and Erica are seen in an empty classroom, where Will is explaining his ingenious plan. Will narrates that he had Erica create a basic fireball for him, showing her holding the flame. Will explains he then infused that fireball into a salamander's tail, which he's holding in his hand. Will reveals he's continuously healing the salamander's tail to prevent it from burning, while Erica looks concerned about the pain. Will confidently states that as a healer, constantly healing the tail is nothing, leaving Erica utterly bewildered by his power. Will explains his final step, activating the tail's flame sac with more healing magic right before releasing it, making it look like he cast a fireball. Will's elaborate trick works perfectly, creating a convincing fireball that blasts the target, shocking the onlookers. Will, with a confident smirk, asks the long-haired teacher if he passed, while the teacher looks utterly flabbergasted. The long-haired teacher internally acknowledges it was indeed basic flame magic, but questions how Will suddenly managed it. The long-haired teacher, still in disbelief, grudgingly tells Will he passes and to stand down, which Will accepts with a polite thank you. Erica and the other students look completely stunned and amazed by Will's unexpected display of offensive magic. Ulpus, the blonde bully, looks absolutely furious and confused by Will's sudden success. Ulpus confronts the long-haired teacher in the classroom, demanding an explanation for Will's performance. Ulpus rages at the long-haired teacher, demanding to know why Will suddenly used offensive magic, while the teacher looks thoughtful. Ulpus, still fuming, declares it's unbearable that a healer defied him in the same class and threatens to report it to his powerful father. The long-haired teacher looks shocked, realizing Ulpus's threat could lead to the disbandment of her class. Ulpus, with a menacing glare, tells the long-haired teacher to use any method necessary to get Will out of his sight. The long-haired teacher internally frets about the high risk of acting outside of class, contrasting it with mere student bullying. The long-haired teacher internally laments that a healer is acting so high and mighty, worrying about her reputation among other teachers. The long-haired teacher, with a dark and determined expression, decides she has no choice but to take matters into her own hands to protect her position.